What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things box. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok, all that good stuff. So let's get into this one. So the chief support to Moses Talma versus Dillian White was a very intriguing contest between the undefeated, well, both of them undefeated actually, the undefeated Nick Ball and Sam Goodman coming in from Australia, who was also undefeated going into this fight. So, yeah, this was an intriguing one. I didn't know much about Sam Goodman, just that he's a boxer. He's very fluid in his movements and quite a skilled guy. And so the way this fight went, it was pretty interesting. I found it pretty interesting. Was a very close contest overall. You had Sam Goodman. I felt made a very good start to this fight. He was standing in there with Nick Ball, sort of taking center ring. He made very good use, especially I want to say in those first 4 rounds of the fight. He made very good use of his attributes because obviously he's the taller man, the bigger man than Nick Ball. And being that he's kind of a pure boxer, so he likes to move his feet, get in and out of range. He likes to, hit and not get hit. And that worked very well for him, I would say, in the first, especially the first 4 rounds. I'd kind of score them in favor of Goodman. I thought Goodman was sort of managing the fight that bit better and fighting at a good pace. Nick Ball was always in it. He was always trying to get into him and trying to get in close. But Sam Goodman was doing a good job at just sort of moving his feet slight little steps back and throwing those straight punches and kind of keeping Nick Ball at bay, which is what you need to do against Nick Ball. You don't allow the shorter squat fighter to sort of get in close and attack you and have his success. You want to keep him at arm's length. And to his credit, Sam Goodman for those early rounds and even up to near enough the halfway point, he was doing a good job sort of keeping Nick Ball at arm's length. Even when Nick Ball would land, Goodman done a good job of sort of being last, after Nick Ball attacks, then he tries to throw something back and tries to sort of stamp his authority on it. But the tide for me kind of changed in, round 6 and following, going into sort of the championship rounds where they were still close, still nip and tuck. But Nick Ball started landing his punches and started being able to get inside Sam Goodman, and as Goodman couldn't quite keep him off anymore, and it became more Nick Ball's type of fight. He was in, to his credit, Nick Ball, he does throw punches from quite odd angles, so you could tell that that was one of his advantages here, that he was able to sort of step round Goodman and land uppercuts from awkward angles and hooks, and he throws a nice little screw shot, sort of half uppercut through the middle. So a lot of that stuff began working for him at the halfway stage and leading on to that, and he just sort of began to take over the fight. But it was one of those where we say take over, but by no means was Sam Goodman out of the fight or anything like that. But it was just that you could tell Nick Ball was having success, and the only real thing with Nick Ball was that I think the thing I saw that I didn't like with him was that a lot of the times, even when he's not having his success, he wasn't really jabbing his way in to get inside of Sam Goodman. And I think by him not jabbing his way and not using a single or I would prefer probably a double jab to sort of get yourself inside and make sure that, because if you just rush in like what Nick Ball was doing sometimes last night, you're always at big risk of getting countered. But if you sort of jab your way in, even if you miss with the jab, you're still kind of giving the guy a punch to think about, and it kind of gives you the advantage when you jab your way in. Whereas if you just sort of move in fast like he did, that's where he was sort of getting countered. So I think that was one of the kind of mistakes by Nick Ball. But at the end of the day, he, throughout the second half of the fight, he just managed to sort of land more punches on Goodman, and Goodman began to tire a bit down the stretch, and yeah, it just sort of became more of a Nick Ball fight. I think it was so close though that it's one of them fights that even if they said it was a draw, I don't think anyone could complain. It was really did come down to the wire. I think one of the scorecards was a bit silly, a bit wide. Um, but yeah, Nick Ball, he done his thing there. He done very well. The next thing for him, they're sort of calling out Naoya Inoue, and for me, I think that's a tough one, man. I think stylistically, Nick Ball does have a chance, and he can punch a bit, but excuse me, I just think Inoui's ring IQ will probably be a bit too much, because not only can Inoue punch, I think Inoue of the two of them's got the better sort of ring IQ, and for me, I just think Inui would be my clear favorite going into that, just based on the skill and everything. And I think the Inui will sort of pick up on the mistakes Nick Ball makes. But yeah, it was a decent performance by him, but it was very close. I think if you're in his corner, for me, I think that was a bit too close for comfort, because as I said, Nick Ball, I think, yeah, I've no argument with him winning by the little just, but it's by such a small margin that you could just as easily give it a draw or give it the other way. I think, you know, because there was so many close rounds in there. So I mean, yeah, it was one of them. No problem with him winning; he deserves it. But it was that close that, you know, Sam Goodman was no disgrace. So yeah, good fight, good performance by Nick Ball, but he did cut it very close. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Until next time, it's MQ Boxing. Over and out.